Hey, Irina. Thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Irina and I'm in San Diego, California. I do marketing strategy. I really love just any marketing challenges that I can find and helping them kind of revive businesses.
How'd you get interested in this? You
Well,
studied it in college or no?
actually, so my dad's first business, so I have 10 brothers and sisters to kind of get
Is that
started.
all?
Not all right. um, and my dad, well, we used to actually deliver newspapers, and then my dad opened up a business when I was about 13, 14, and it only lasted about a year. It actually failed, and then it was kind of hard time in our family, but then I realized, what is it that I can do for other businesses that are failing? Like, what was it that was missing from his business in particular?
Yep.
Um, so I went into it. I I mean, I learned everything there was to know about marketing, especially like the more challenging business platforms, like very niche markets,
Yep.
particularly.
And that's it because I hear a lot of people, especially early in their career, they think the only alternative is Starbucks, McDonald's, Walmart. And I'm like, no, every company needs marketing help, social
Yep,
media help, AdWords, YouTube ads, all of this stuff that, with a month of training, you can be okay at, right?
exactly.
And
I
if you
love.
really get into it in a year, you can be super good at it.
Yep. And you have to start early because if you start early, then you kind of get that upper advantage. And then you have that fire in the very beginning. And
Yeah.
so then it kind of goes and it kind of takes a life of its own. So marketing is super important for
Yeah.
any business platform.
Right. And I've always said, because I've always been at companies and I was never really happy with the marketing people because they knew what to do, but they either didn't care or they were doing what worked 5 years ago
Yeah.
or today because it changes so fast.
That's a hard thing because if somebody has their own business and a typically marketing business, I mean, somebody's focus could potentially change to finding new clients, and then they do the bare minimum, and then they don't,
Yeah.
they collect that paycheck, that monthly paycheck. And I know it's something that I have to fight to make sure to stop myself from. I only take a certain amount of clients, and I have to make sure, focus on who you have, and
Yeah.
because word of mouth marketing is like the most important
Eh,
way to.
eh, Yeah, and I think a lot just seem to either do what they did at their last company or copy their competitors.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
if you copy your competitors, then you don't have marketing. You just have an equal playing ground. You got to do something different.
hmm
You know,
I
tr-
do think that, yeah, I
go-
do think that finding what the competitor is doing is super important. So like right when I get like any kind of business model, I look at what the competitors are doing. I look on the back end of their website, find out what keywords they're ranking for, find out exactly what it is that they did. But finding the new ways, that's
yeah,
exactly. And you know what? A lot of the times I found that press is the best way to it's something that not everybody's doing, but it's something that gives it the brand awareness like
yeah.
instantly.
Well, that's it. When it's social proof
hmm
and content in once, right?
Yep.
Because someone else is writing about you or talking with you or about you instead of just
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, who's your ideal customer?
My honestly, it could be anyone. I'm a general marketing person. It could be anyone with any kind of business idea. But my ideal where like I've figured out a system that works and brings in leads consistently are health and wellness. So like bariatric surgeons, dentists, plastic surgeons, anything like that.
But how do you get in touch with them? What's your approach? Because they're not
Word of mouth
easy,
marketing. So
really.
that word of mouth marketing for those because that's my bread and butter. But my passion are those B2B businesses, software companies,
Yeah.
anybody that, I mean, the markets are so niche that it takes my mind to work. And so I like those. I like my mind.
Yeah. Let's dig into that because that's more of our audience and kind of the audience that I work with. When you go into a software company, what's your process?
Um, oh, and like getting any software company?
Yeah. Let's say they want to work with you.
Yes.
How do
First,
you get them to kind of cooperate and how do you come up with your strategy?
yeah, well, the first process is to make sure I know the company. So I'm going to ask as many questions as I can to kind of know what the business platform is. The second thing I do is I do all the research I can to find anything online or digital to make sure that when I have a conversation with them, they realize, hey, I've done my work to know who you are,
Yeah.
what you bring to the table. And then from there, I basically start going into strategy. And my strategy always has to do with the biggest bang for the smallest amount of
Okay.
basically, what is it that will give us um, I mean, I guess if we go into the nitty gritty, like landing pages, finding out, even like Google AdWords, finding out, making sure the landing page converts, looking at past marketing strategies that, are working, but seeing what else I can do to fix them up and kind of giving them my 2 cents that way.
So do you do like an audit first to see what they're currently doing and the results they're getting?
I always do an audit.
Yeah.
The reason is because there are little things that I can find that just can make a world of a difference.
Yeah.
And if somebody's getting instant results, and if they can see instant results, then they'll trust me for the long-term strategy, because that does take trust to kind of 3 months in, and then you'll see results.
Because I mean, even like AdWords has turned into a career in and of itself. I mean, I've been doing it almost 20 years. And
Yeah,
I started on like a family business and it just blew the business up. And it was like 8 cents back
yeah,
then.
I know.
Today it's like $80, right?
For any click, it's crazy. There are businesses that will light up with Google Ads. I mean, there's one that just you put in $1,000, you'll get back like $10,000. But
Yeah.
then also ones that don't, and
Wow.
those are the challenges, because Google AdWords, Facebook, all those, if those aren't working, you have to kind of think out of the box. And
Yeah.
then for that, it's like reaching out to influencers, finding out, I mean, going direct to people that could market for you, because like physicians who sell it to their clients,
Right.
anything.
And
So,
that's what I see with software companies. They have a content strategy, which is good, but they
mhm,
don't have a platform or an audience.
yep,
So
yeah,
the inbound, it just doesn't have what it did 10 years ago because everyone's doing it.
yep, yeah. And there's so so many software companies out there, and
Yes.
people feel like they're being sold to. I mean, it's a day and age where everybody's being sold to on a daily basis. And so you kind of have to think creatively. You can't be selling. You have to basically find people that are going to look for you,
Yeah.
um, and then put yourself there. Because if you're selling, chances are 6 months down the road, that person won't be happy because they feel that they were sold to. If you are kind of, if you can strategize a marketing strategy that will make the client feel, or the user feel as though they went after it,
Yeah.
it's a long-term customer for sure.
Right. Kind of educate them and kind of give value to them, build a know, like, and trust kind of relationship before you try and get them to convert.
Yep, exactly. And
It's
so like yeah, so I mean, there are two different kinds of like websites, where one you'd go in and one says try for free or try for $7 for 7 days, anything like that, and
yeah.
people instantly buy. But the other one is, it kind of goes through different ways that it might help you, and then it says start with a free trial, or it might
Right.
even like buy at the end. Those, I think, I mean, there's place for both of them, but those ones I would assume, or I might gather, they might have a longer life customer,
Yeah.
because that person was sold into it instead of just buying it.
Right. Yeah. And what do you see people doing wrong mostly, especially on
With
the with marketing in general or
marketing,
ads or
yeah. Well, first you have to make sure your ad will convert. So make sure it's something that looks good, represents your business, isn't just something that you throw up there with some words on it. Because I mean, first impressions are key. Anything to do
yeah.
with first impressions. The second thing is landing pages. People don't realize that a click to your website is actually nothing. I mean, that really doesn't do the trick. You have to make sure that your landing page will sell them on what it is that you're giving them. You
Yeah.
basically got 20% with the Google click. That's how I think about it.
And how about
Um,
as far as like pinpointing the ad as focused as possibly can?
You know what's interesting? So at the very beginning, like Facebook ads, Google display ads, anything like that. At the very beginning, I was targeting so strategic. I was basically trying to find out, what can I do to make sure that the right audience sees this? And
Yeah.
then I learned about adding in your whole client list and basically creating lookalike audiences from that. And then once you have the pixel installed and you're running Google Ads, basically that pixel is doing more work for you than the targeting is. So then you have that pixel running and
Yeah.
retargeting people for you. And so just making sure that the little things are done in the beginning so that Google and Facebook and all them are gathering the right data
Yeah.
will set you up for the future.
So you're a fan of retargeting?
I'm a fan of retargeting because it works. I mean, that's where I see results.
Yeah. How about as far as when you pick a channel, when do you know it's the right channel? LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Google AdWords?
So typically I put, like, for example, let's say for a client, this is actually how some, I say, here, give me $100. Let me show you what I can do with it. Well, if it's actually that's B2C. If it's a B2B client, I say, give me $1,000. Let me show you what I can do with it. And I put in a little bit of money to every single avenue and I see where my first lead is. And then I put in 20% of whatever it is that I have more into it. If I get another lead, that's where I'm going to focus just to get the person, like those instant leads. I kind of forgot what your question was, but it related.
Finding the channel. And so you would spread it across evenly or?
Evenly at first with the first half, 20, with the first 50%. And then I'm going to put in 20% more for the one that works. And if it gives me another lead, then that's what I'm sticking with just to get started. Yeah. Because I'm all for finding the cheapest option because nobody wants to pay. I mean, if you can pay $50 here for a lead, on there it's $150. For example, Facebook, for a B2B lead, I can get it for $20 to $70. On LinkedIn, that's like $150, $180 for just a typical software company. So I mean, it's
huge.
It's finding the cheapest possible option.
Yeah. How about podcasts? And have you ever tried ads on podcasts?
I actually haven't. And this is so I recently only opened this business, and so I've been looking into like podcasting and the audiences here because I know that podcasting audiences are loyal and they really like stick to somebody once they like what they hear. And so I guess that's an interesting thought because now I'm thinking about it. Do you have ads on podcasts?
I have a couple of partners and they've been with me for years. And I don't do any B2C ads. So they're very targeted exactly at the type of people they want to talk to. But because what I see happening is, okay, we've got all these channels, but then influencers are becoming that next layer.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the know, like, and trust is established and the audience is already curated.
Yep.
And I think the old school of, I got their email address. I guess the new school is I got the pixel.
Yep.
Because the email address you can scrape, you can construct without permission.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I see it going to the next level of kind of influencers who have curated the audience you want access to.
For sure. It's interesting. So yesterday night I was working on a strategy for a client and I was looking online for influencers that might relate to it. And I've realized that influencers are kind of expensive. I mean, it's super expensive to get them to even consider something. And so I looked into dog influencers. So I looked into dog influencers with local followers. And so what I did was I reached out to them and then we're scheduling like this grand opening with the dog influencer there with the local following and doing a giveaway.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes, but it's getting creative in even the influencer market and trying to.
It is because I think certainly in the B2B space, you don't have the time, right? Because all of a sudden, because you get fired in 18 months as a CMO if you don't produce, and sales is never going to think you're doing a great job.
Right? They want more and more.
Right. So, but everybody tries, if they try the old school, we'll start a blog. Well, that's a 2-year process.
Yep.
Because you're essentially trying to become an influencer.
Exactly.
There's no scarcity in blogs today.
Yeah.
Right? No. So, and you can pay for ads and you should, but they have to be very selective because they're so expensive.
And very strategic too. I mean, you could I mean, it has to be something that somebody will actually click on,
Yeah.
or click on and actually, move forward. Something that brings value, such as a blog or a podcast or something like that. Basically,
And,
it's like to like a blog.
and how do you build word of mouth since that's working for you, which is the most valuable? And
That's results.
yeah,
Because
results. Yeah.
yeah, because if someone's happy and then I tell them about who I am, or basically I tell them, or they see I'm working hard. One, they see I'm working hard. Then they know I'm building a business too, and they know how tough that is. And so then
Yeah.
they help me out by giving me another person. And so it's usually people that they trust as well. So it all starts with getting results.
And how do you stay current on all this stuff? Because it doesn't
Mhm.
stand still.
I know.
The
So
algorithms are changing.
for sure. It's just spending my time at a coffee shop. I mean, I'm working 10-hour days and I'm working from anywhere you could possibly think of. And so I'm spending, let's say, 60% of my time on clients, but there's only so much I can do. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, there's only so much you can do before it's just looking over exactly what you did 10 times, right? And so the rest of the time I'm reading, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm talking to people, and I'm working on my own strategy. Because
Yeah.
if I'm working on my own strategy, then I see what works and doesn't work for clients, and I can recommend that to them. So I can say, hey, look what I did, and this is what I got from it. Do you want me to do the same for you? And then they typically are like, wow, let's try it.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because everybody needs it, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to do it themselves because
Exactly.
they'll
Because
it doesn't work. It's
yeah,
expensive.
yeah, and they're in their heads, basically. Okay, so if like I'm thinking back to when I started marketing to now, um, I could only get to a certain point in my mind of creativity in the very beginning because I didn't know all of the channels and platforms.
Yeah.
But now it's to a point where I know them all. And so then when I get a business platform, I already have all this knowledge to kind of try out in my mind and kind of pick and choose what might work, what might not. And that's something that kind of, if somebody wants to do it on their own, they'll have to learn all those to be
Yes.
confident in whatever they're trying to do.
Right. Because they already care, but
They just want it.
right. And I think everybody wants to outsource it, but they want the person to really be effective.
Exactly. Yep.
And how long do you quote as far as it taking to become effective?
Well, I will two different strategies. One of them is called an instant strategy, and one of them is called a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
So, what I've realized in my years of marketing is people don't like to wait for results. And so they
Yeah.
like to see something right away. And so I'm putting half and half. One, I'm making sure I show people instant results, which you can do that in the marketing field. But the thing is, when you're paying somebody a lot of money, typically they're trying to make sure you have the longest results because marketers want to make sure that it grows
Yeah.
and that people don't get stuck on those instant results. But I love the instant results. It's like, for example, throwing up a Facebook lead generation ad and having it get in those leads. Yes, it has to go to the sales team and it takes time and maybe 30% of them work out, but they see that something's working, right? And then meanwhile, I'm working on the landing page, the influencer marketing, finding out new partners for them, partnership opportunities, collaborating with local businesses, making sure fixing up the website. If I see, for example, let's say 10,000 hits to the website, but let's say we have 10 sales, I mean, that's even pretty good, but still something's wrong. I
Yeah.
mean, just doing those tweaks and making sure everything's looking good, working on video strategy, things like that.
And what's the best channel for you in your business?
I'd say Facebook and
It
Instagram.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Google, I mean, Google
There's
works,
too many people.
yes,
Yeah.
especially the search. Search has too many people. Google Display, I love it because you can have the highest reach, and I mean, you can have such a high reach. For example, I was actually working for this dizziness and headache client, where I was basically marketing to people who have misalignment in their eyes. So it's B2C again.
Yeah.
Um, and I tried 50-50. I put 500 a month on search and I put 500 a month on display campaign. Um, we got most of ours from the display campaign. And somebody looked at me and I told them about this and they said, oh, no, that's not true. Are you tracking it? I said, of course I'm tracking it. Look at this. All my parameters are there. And so I can see exactly from the start to the finish. And the display campaign beat out the search campaign,
Hmm.
which is something that people didn't I mean,
How
search
did you curate the audience? How did you decide who to put the ad in front of?
honestly, okay, so what I okay, so you'll realize what I do is I start big and I start honing in. And so
Yeah.
what I did was I did anything that could possibly relate to it. I put in the
Okay.
URLs of any competitors or anybody else that has similar audiences. I put in all the keywords I can think of. And then once I looked at which websites it showed up on and which ones, like, for example, let's say a gaming website gave me like 100 clicks. It only costs $5, but 100 clicks, I'm like, something's wrong there. They're just accidentally clicking it. So I'll X out that website,
Yeah.
even though it was giving me too many clicks. Well, because that bounce rate, you have to make sure people want to stay on your website.
Yeah.
But anyway, I go on tangents in that case.
Yeah. I would think with something like that, if you could, they don't go to that physician first. They usually go to somebody else first.
Yep.
So maybe either a general practitioner or a chiropractor or somebody. And if
Yeah.
you can find target their audience, if they have one.
Yeah. But it's interesting. It works in the B2B world too, because
Yeah.
the niche markets could be the same for one software and the other software, or one platform and the other one. So, like, for example, there's one for dentists, and then you find another software that fills in a different gap for
Yeah.
dentists. Then you retarget their traffic, you put up ads, or you even reach out to them for a partnership, which that's the best way, I think.
And I guess that you could also interview the doctor and say, what do most of your clients look like? Not
Yep.
physically, but like age,
Direct market research.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff works.
Cool.
It works to find out exactly from word of mouth from somebody else what works and what doesn't, for sure.
How much time do you spend on LinkedIn?
I can't say I spend too much time on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I do the LinkedIn like lead campaigns. I'm always active on it. Well, I guess I have a team of 9 currently. There's a team of
Wow.
9 of us. Yeah, we kind of exploded.
In
And
1
so
year?
in 3 months. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a marketer at heart. I'm doing marketing all day long, and so I did it for myself. Well, mostly word of mouth, but like I
Yeah.
said, I want a new challenge, and so that's why I'm kind of reaching out. But LinkedIn, I do have somebody posting organic posts and commenting on any trending posts, to get awareness out there.
Yeah.
Making sure to put out a lead generation campaign maybe once a month to get like word out. Posting articles, things like that. But I can't say I spend too much time on it yet.
Because there's pretty big software community, certainly in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And you're an hour south of there, right? Or hour and a half.
Yeah.
San Diego probably has a reasonably good technology community.
What's interesting is actually they're trying to build a startup community here. And so they're
Yeah.
trying, because LA's filling up, and so now they're going to move everybody here,
Yeah.
which is going to be good for me, right?
Right.
So I can help them out, right? But yeah, I do see what you're saying about LinkedIn being working for that. But if I bring in the example about that dental software, Facebook got me, let's say, a $30 to $40 lead. LinkedIn got me a lead after like 100
Yeah,
leads.
I wouldn't recommend. Well, LinkedIn's ads are very expensive.
Very expensive.
Very expensive. Yeah. And I've tried them, but the organic reach is much better, I found.
That's true.
Like videos, I get more per hour on LinkedIn than I get per day on YouTube.
I see.
Yeah. And the audience kind of self-selects. There's a lot of retirees and, haters and trolls, but it's still the business. It
For
kind
sure.
of self-selects.
Yeah.
Where like I found even with Instagram and Facebook ads, even if you set the ages and locations, they don't really adhere to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. You pick San Francisco and some kid in Louisiana sees the ad and comments on it. And you're like, what? I paid for that? Right.
It's funny. Clients bring that up. They're like, why did somebody from India like my ad? I'm like, I did what,
Right.
I mean, I have my targeting down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's yeah. But it's interesting you mentioned YouTube. It seems that YouTube has become so saturated with
Yes.
So, I mean, it's at a point where, once in a blue moon, you'll get views unless you've already built up credibility. But the YouTube ads actually work really well.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. And they're pretty powerful, but they've become really competitive also.
Super competitive too.
Yeah, because there's a
Oh,
lot of people, teaching other people how to do it. And then
yep,
there's, all kinds of people, overdoing it.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the only channel I pay not to see the ads.
That's fun. Me too.
It's just like, oh no, not another promo ad. And that's the problem with retargeting is like, oh, they got my pixel. I'll never get out of here.
True. The cookies. Yeah. But for some reason it still works, right? I mean, for example, if you ask some, like, do you ever click on a search ad on the top, or do you scroll down? Like, if you're searching for something, do you ever click on a search ad?
Well, I typically don't, because especially like if I search for the company and they post an ad up there,
Uh-huh.
because that ad will put me into a form and not onto the website.
Yeah.
And I think the form is too fast.
Yep.
I'm not clicking to give you my stuff without
Clicking.
you doing something, right?
Yep.
I'm not interested yet. I'm just curious now.
Hmm.
Satisfy my curiosity and build my interest, and
Yeah.
then I'm willing to get on a list or something. And that's just me, especially when you see people will pay for the ad and then theirs is the next one down,
For sure.
right? So they're paying $15 to annoy somebody.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
The smarter thing was like what I always just do is like I'd pay to be in front of my competitors,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you say, oh, if you're looking for something better, then
Oh,
right,
that's interesting.
yeah.
Then you target just the competitors,
Well, not just, but
not others, but
yeah,
I see the strategy. I
right.
haven't tried that. That's very, very interesting.
Right. That's key because all of a sudden they put all this money into SEO and they're coming down to number 4 and you're number 1 or 2.
Yeah, for sure. Super cool. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the reason why I mean, I don't, a lot of people scroll down, right? They scroll down, and I think I'm one of them that scrolls down. But
Yeah.
then there is that market that looks and just clicks on the first
Clicks.
one,
Yeah.
right? Same with YouTube. There is that market that out there, because you see the clicks, you see the impressions, and the people converting from it, even though you might be like, oh, that's never going to work. Actually, there are people that will,
Cool.
convert from that. And so that's something to keep in mind.
Hey, this has been a great conversation. For those who are listening and want to learn more about you and your company, where should they go?
They can actually give me a call. So
Okay.
805 500 3736.
Excellent.